That money was a gift, Dad. You can't sue your own son. James screamed into the phone, his voice cracking with disbelief. I stared at the legal papers in my hand, the promissory note with his signature clear as day, and I said the words that would change everything. Then I'll see you in court. 3 months later, the judge awarded me $180,000, and my son lost more than just the lawsuit. Let me back up. My name is Richard Pearson, and I'm 67 years old, living in Calgary, Alberta. I spent 35 years as a structural engineer before retiring, and my late wife Margaret and I raised 2 kids in a modest bungalow in Bridgeland. Margaret passed away 3 years ago after a brutal fight with pancreatic cancer, and honestly, I'm still not quite the same. The house feels too big now, too quiet, but it's paid off and filled with memories, so I stay. Our son James is 35. He was always ambitious, sometimes to a fault. Got his computer science degree from the University of Calgary, worked at a few tech companies, but he always talked about starting his own business. His wife Vanessa is, well, she's a piece of work. They met at some networking event 6 years ago, and within 8 months they were married. Margaret never quite warmed to her, but she'd never say so directly. She'd just give me that look over Sunday dinner, you know the one. 5 years ago, James came to me with an opportunity. He and a partner wanted to launch a tech startup, something to do with AI-powered inventory management for small retailers. I'll be honest, half of what he explained went over my head, but he was passionate. His eyes lit up the way they used to when he was a kid showing me his science fair projects. He needed capital. $150,000. That's not pocket change, even for someone like me who'd been careful with money his whole life. Margaret's life insurance had paid out. We had our retirement savings, but $150,000 was substantial. I wanted to help my son. What father wouldn't? But I also wasn't born yesterday. I'd seen too many family loans go south, ruining relationships along with finances. So I told James, I'll lend you the money, but we do this properly. Legal documents, payment terms, interest rate. This is a business loan, son, not a handout. He agreed immediately. We sat down with my lawyer, Drew Mackenzie, who'd handled our estate planning. We drafted a promissory note. Clean, simple, legal, $150,000 principal, 5% annual interest, 5-year repayment term with monthly installments of $2,830. James signed it on October 15th, 2019. Vanessa was there too, witness signature and everything. We even had it notarized. The first year, like clockwork, the payments came. E-transfer every month, sometimes with a quick message. Thanks again, Dad, our business is growing. I'd see James and Vanessa at family dinners, birthdays, Christmas. Things seemed good. The startup was gaining clients. James hired 3 employees. He showed me articles about the company in local business publications. I was proud. Margaret died in January of the second year. James was there, of course. He gave a eulogy that made everyone cry, talking about how Mom always believed in him. After the funeral, as we stood in our living room accepting condolences, James pulled me aside. Dad, I know this is hard. If you need anything at all, Vanessa and I are here. And don't worry about the loan payments right now. Take the time you need. I appreciated that. I really did. For 2 months, I didn't even look at my bank account. I was just trying to get through each day. But in March, I noticed the payment had come through. And April. And May. Every month, regular as sunrise. It meant something to me, that commitment, especially during the fog of grief. By year 3, I was doing better. I joined a grief support group, started volunteering at the Kirby Center, kept myself busy. The payments continued. James's business seemed to be thriving. They moved from their condo to a house in Mahogany, one of those new developments in the deep southeast. Nice place, probably $650,000. Vanessa posted pictures all over Facebook, the kind with strategic angles to show off their renovated kitchen and backyard fire pit. Then, in year 4, something shifted. August 2023. The payment didn't come through. I figured it was an oversight. People get busy. I sent James a text. Hey son, just checking in. Didn't see this month's transfer come through. Everything okay? 3 days. No response. Finally, a brief text. Sorry, Dad, forgot. We'll send this week. It came 5 days later. No explanation. I let it go. September. Same thing. No payment on the 1st. I waited a week before texting. This time, been swamped with work. Soon. The payment came 3 weeks late. I was starting to feel uncomfortable. This wasn't like James. I called him. It went to voicemail. I left a message. James, it's your father. I think we should talk about the loan arrangement. Give me a call when you can. He texted back instead. Everything's fine, Dad, just cash flow timing issues. You know how business is. October. No payment at all. November. Nothing. I was now missing $8,500 and my texts were going unanswered. When I tried calling, he'd decline and text, "Can't talk now," or "in a meeting." I drove to their house one Saturday in December. I didn't want to ambush them, so I'd texted first. "I'm coming by around 2 p.m. We need to discuss the loan." No response, but I went anyway. Vanessa answered the door. She didn't invite me in. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, looking at me like I was a door-to-door salesman. "James isn't here," she said flatly. "Where is he? I've been trying to reach him for weeks." "He's busy, Richard. The business is going through a transition." Richard. Not Dad. Not even Mr. Pearson. Richard. "I understand business has challenges," I said, keeping my voice calm, "but we have an agreement. If he's having trouble with the payments, we can discuss restructuring, but he needs to communicate with me." Vanessa's expression hardened. "You know what the problem is? You're treating him like a debtor instead of your son. This is why he doesn't want to talk to you. You're obsessed with this money thing. There's a signed contract. Family shouldn't need contracts, Richard. Maybe if you'd just supported him without all these conditions, without holding it over his head, things would be different." I felt heat rising in my face. "I'm not holding anything over his head. I lent him $150,000 in good faith. All I'm asking for is what we agreed to." "You know what?" Vanessa stepped back, hand on the door. "I think you should go. James will contact you when he's ready." She closed the door. I stood there on their freshly shoveled walkway, looking at their 3-car garage and professional Christmas lights, and I felt something I hadn't expected. Not just anger. Hurt. Deep, cutting hurt. Christmas came. No invitation to their house. I went to my daughter Sarah's place in Edmonton instead, spent the holidays with her family. She knew something was wrong but didn't press. On Boxing Day, James sent a group text to the family. "Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope you had a great day," with a picture of him and Vanessa in front of their tree. I didn't respond. January 2024. I sent a formal letter via registered mail. Drew Mackenzie helped me draft it. Professional, clear, not emotional. It outlined the missed payments, now totaling $11,300, and requested either immediate payment or a meeting to discuss restructuring. I gave him 2 weeks to respond. The letter came back signed for. 3 days later, James called. Finally. "Dad, what the hell is this letter? Are you seriously getting lawyers involved? You haven't responded to any of my messages for months, James. What choice did I have?" "The choice to act like a father instead of a bank." His voice was sharp, cutting. "You send me legal letters? Seriously? We have a contract. You signed it. If you're having financial difficulties, I'm willing to work with you, but you have to communicate. You want to know the truth?" James's laugh was bitter. "The truth is, I shouldn't have to pay you back at all. You're my father. That money was a gift, or it should have been. Do you know how it feels to have your own dad treat you like a business transaction?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "A gift? James, you signed a promissory note. We both did this properly, legally, specifically so there wouldn't be confusion." "I was under duress. You made me sign that thing or you wouldn't give me the money. That's not a real agreement." "Under duress? You came to ME asking for help. I helped you, with clear terms we both agreed to." "You know what, Dad?" His voice went cold. "I talked to a lawyer. That promissory note might not even be valid. And even if it is, good luck trying to collect. You really want to destroy our relationship over money? Mom would be ashamed of you." That hit like a punch to the chest, bringing Margaret into this. Don't you dare, I said quietly. Your mother would have expected you to honor your word. I'm done with this conversation. Don't contact me again unless you're ready to drop this ridiculous debt thing. He hung up. I sat in my kitchen, hands shaking, staring at my phone. For hours I sat there, as it got dark outside. Was I wrong? Was I being mercenary? Would Margaret really be ashamed? I barely slept that night, or the next. My blood pressure spiked. I could feel it in my temples. I'd wake up at 3 a.m., replaying the conversation, second-guessing everything. James was my son, my only son. Was $150,000 worth losing him? But another voice in my head, quieter but persistent, asked, was I losing him? Or had he already made that choice when he stopped responding, stopped paying, stopped treating me with basic respect? February. I made an appointment with Drew Mackenzie. I brought all the documentation, the promissory note, the bank transfer records showing the initial $150,000 payment, all the monthly payments James had made for 3 years, and the records of payments stopping. I brought the text messages, the registered letter, everything. Drew reviewed it all, his reading glasses perched on his nose. He was in his 60s, had been practicing law for 40 years. He looked up at me finally. Richard, this is as solid as it gets. Notarized promissory note, clear terms, witness signatures, payment history, establishing the debt was acknowledged. If you want to pursue this, you'll win. But should I? I asked. He's my son. Drew leaned back in his chair. I can't answer that for you, but I can tell you this. I've seen a lot of family loans go wrong, usually because there's no documentation, no clarity. You did everything right. You gave your son a substantial amount of money, with reasonable terms. And for 3 years he honored that agreement. Something changed, and now he's not only refusing to pay, he's trying to rewrite history and claim it was a gift. That's not just about money anymore. That's about integrity. He said, I'm choosing money over our relationship. No, Drew said firmly. He's the one making that choice. You're asking for what was agreed upon. He's the one who stopped paying, stopped communicating, and is now attacking your character. There's a difference between being loving and being a doormat, Richard. I sat with that. If I sue him, we might never recover from this. That's possible. But from what you've told me, you're barely speaking now anyway. And if you don't pursue this, what message does that send? That he can take advantage of you, break his word, and face no consequences. Is that the relationship you want? I thought about Margaret. What would she say? She was always more diplomatic than me, but she also had steel in her spine. She didn't tolerate disrespect, especially from our kids. I remembered once when James was 16, he'd lied about where he was going and came home drunk. Margaret grounded him for a month, and when he protested, she said, I love you enough to hold you accountable. That's what real love looks like. Draw up the papers, I told Drew. It took 2 weeks to prepare the statement of claim. We were suing for the principal balance remaining, the interest accrued, plus legal costs. The total came to just over $168,000. Drew filed it with the Court of King's Bench of Alberta in early March. We had to serve James personally. Drew hired a process server. On March 12, 2024, a woman approached James outside his office building downtown and handed him the papers. James Pearson? You've been served? I knew exactly when it happened because 15 minutes later my phone exploded. 3 missed calls from James. Then a text. I can't believe you actually did this. You're suing me? Your own son? You're insane. Then another. Vanessa was right about you. You've always been controlling. This is financial abuse. Then, don't ever contact me again. You're dead to me. Each message felt like a knife, but I'd made my decision. I didn't respond. The next call was from Sarah. Dad, what's going on? James just called me screaming about you suing him. I explained everything. The loan, the signed agreement, the stopped payments, the months of being ignored. Sarah listened quietly. Dad, I had no idea. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want to put you in the middle. Does he really owe you $150,000? Plus interest and missed payments, yes. Long pause. Then, Dad, I'm sorry you're going through this, For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. James has always been entitled. Mom used to worry about it. That conversation helped. At least one of my kids understood. The legal process ground forward. James hired a lawyer, Marcus Whitfield, from one of those aggressive firms with TV commercials. They filed a statement of defense claiming the promissory note was signed under duress, that there was an oral agreement the debt would be forgiven in the family, and that I'd made verbal assurances the loan was really a gift. All lies. Drew wasn't worried. They're throwing spaghetti at the wall. Nothing's going to stick. They have no evidence because none of that happened. We went through examinations for discovery. I had to sit in a boardroom while Marcus Whitfield asked me hostile questions for 3 hours. Isn't it true you pressured your son? Isn't it true you used your wife's death to manipulate him emotionally? I kept my cool. Drew had prepared me. Stick to the facts. Don't get emotional. James's examination was different. According to Drew, James couldn't keep his story straight. First he claimed duress, then he claimed he thought the payments were voluntary. Then he claimed he'd been planning to pay, but I'd rushed to sue him. His lawyer had clearly told him to be careful, but James was angry, defensive, not a good witness. We had a mediation session in July. Court ordered. We sat in separate rooms while a mediator shuttled back and forth. I was in room A with Drew. James and Marcus were in room B. I never saw James face to face. The mediator, a retired judge named Patricia Chen, was straightforward. Mr. Pearson, your case is very strong. Mr. Whitfield knows this, but litigation is expensive and emotionally draining. Would you consider a settlement? What are they offering? They're suggesting $80,000, paid over 5 years. I looked at Drew. He shrugged. That's insulting, honestly. You're owed over $160,000, not counting legal fees. Tell them $160,000 paid within 1 year or we go to trial, I said. Patricia went back and forth 3 more times. James's best offer was $100,000 over 3 years. I declined. We'll see the judge, I told Patricia. She nodded. I thought you might say that. For what it's worth, Mr. Pearson, I think you'll prevail. Trial was set for October 15th, 2024. 5 years to the day since James signed the promissory note. I don't know if the court scheduler did that deliberately or if it was cosmic irony. I won't lie. The months leading up to trial were hard. I lost weight. My blood pressure medication got increased. Some nights I'd lie awake wondering if I was doing the right thing. But then I'd remember James's words. You're dead to me. He'd made his choice. I was just following through. The trial lasted 2 days. The courtroom was exactly like you see on TV, but smaller, more mundane. Wood paneling, harsh fluorescent lights, uncomfortable benches. James sat at the defendant's table with Marcus. We made eye contact once when I first walked in. He looked away. Drew presented our case methodically. The promissory note authenticated. The bank records showing the $150,000 transfer, every single monthly payment James had made. Text messages acknowledging the debt. The registered letter. James's own words. Cash flow timing issues, which acknowledged the debt existed. Marcus tried. He really did. He called Vanessa to testify that I'd made verbal assurances the money was flexible. But under cross-examination, Drew got her to admit she'd never heard any such conversation. She was just repeating what James told her. He called James, who testified that he'd felt pressured but couldn't articulate how. Specifically, I'd pressured him beyond requiring a legal document for a large loan. The judge, Justice Marilyn Thompson, was in her 50s. Sharp-eyed, no nonsense. She'd read all the briefs. During testimony, she interrupted Marcus multiple times. Counselor, where is your evidence of this alleged oral agreement? Do you have any witnesses to these conversations besides your client? No, Your Honor. But then let's move on. On the second day, both sides rested. Justice Thompson said she'd issue a written decision within 30 days, but would give an oral summary of her findings. Having reviewed all the evidence, she began, and my heart was pounding. I find the promissory note to be valid, properly executed, and unambiguous. I find no evidence of duress. Mr. James Pearson is a 35-year-old educated professional who entered into this agreement voluntarily. The defendant's claims of an oral agreement are uncorroborated and contradicted by the documentary evidence, specifically the payment history, which demonstrates the defendant acknowledged and honored the debt for 3 years. The defendant's decision to stop making payments appears to be one of convenience rather than legal right. I could see James's shoulders slump. Therefore, I find in favor of the plaintiff. Mr. James Pearson is ordered to pay Mr. Richard Pearson the sum of $158,240, representing the principal balance, accrued interest, and prejudgment interest. Additionally, the defendant shall pay the plaintiff's legal costs, which I assess at $22,000. Total judgment, $180,240. The defendant has 90 days to satisfy this judgment, failing which the plaintiff may pursue garnishment or seizure of assets. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down. It was over. I'd won. Drew shook my hand, smiled. Congratulations, Richard. Justice was served. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. Across the courtroom, James was talking urgently with Marcus, gesturing angrily. Vanessa was crying. I walked out without looking back. The 90 days came and went. No payment. Drew filed for a garnishment order. We discovered James's business had a line of credit and some assets, but his personal bank account was nearly empty. The garnishment started taking 20% of his wages. We also placed a lien on the mahogany house. That's when James finally broke. He called me. It was late November, nearly 9 p.m. I almost didn't answer. Dad. His voice was raspy, like he'd been crying. Can we talk? I'm listening. I can't. The garnishment is killing us. Vanessa is furious. She's talking about leaving. My business partner wants to buy me out because this is affecting the company reputation. Dad, I'm losing everything. You had 90 days to pay, James. You chose not to. I know, okay? I was angry, I thought. I don't know what I thought. That you'd back down. That the judge would side with me. I was wrong. Dad, I was wrong about everything. Silence on the line. I could hear him breathing. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I lied. It wasn't a gift. I knew exactly what I was doing when I signed that note. And then business got tight, and Vanessa was spending money, and I thought I could put you off. I thought because you were my dad, you wouldn't really push it. I took advantage of you. And then when you did push, I got defensive and mean because I knew I was in the wrong. I closed my eyes. Part of me wanted to rage at him, to list all the ways he'd hurt me. Another part wanted to forgive him instantly, tell him it was okay. I did neither. What do you want from me, James? I'm going to pay you. I'll sell some stock options, take a loan against the house, whatever I have to do. But Dad, after I pay, is there any chance we can fix this? Can we be father and son again? I don't know, I said honestly. You didn't just refuse to pay a debt. You cut me out, attacked my character, brought your mother's memory into it. You told me I was dead to you. That's not something I can just forget. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want to try. If you'll let me. Pay the debt, I said. All of it, then we'll see. But James, if we rebuild this relationship, it's going to be different. I'm not going to be someone you can take advantage of. I'm not going to be afraid to set boundaries because you might get angry. Do you understand? Yes, I understand. He paid it in 3 installments over 6 weeks. Sold his Tesla, liquidated his RRSP, took out a substantial home equity loan. By mid-January 2025, the full $180,240 was in my account. Drew filed the satisfaction of judgment. Legally, it was over. The emotional part took longer. James asked if we could meet for coffee. Just the two of us. I agreed. We met at a Tim Hortons in Kensington, neutral ground. It was awkward at first. We both ordered double doubles and sat across from each other, not quite making eye contact. I'm in therapy, James said finally. Vanessa insisted. We're doing couples counseling too. She said I have issues with entitlement and accountability. She was right. How's that going? Hard. Really hard. But necessary. My therapist asked me to write you a letter. I have it here, if you want to read it. He slid an envelope across the table. I opened it. 3 pages, handwritten. It detailed everything. His feelings of entitlement, his justifications, how he'd twisted things in his mind to make himself the victim. It apologized, specifically, for the things he'd said. "You are not dead to me, Dad. You never were. I was just angry and ashamed, and I lashed out at the person I knew would love me anyway. I took advantage of that love. I'm sorry." I folded the letter carefully. "Thank you for this. I meant every word." We talked for 2 hours. He told me about the business struggles, the pressure from Vanessa to maintain a lifestyle, his fear of being seen as a failure. I told him about the loneliness since Margaret died, how his rejection had compounded that grief. Neither of us cried, but it was close. "I can't promise things will go back to how they were," I said as we stood to leave. "I don't want them to," James said. "How they were wasn't healthy. I want better. I want to be someone Mom would be proud of." We've been rebuilding slowly. Dinner once a month. Phone calls every couple weeks. It's not the relationship we had before, but maybe that's good. It's more honest now. He knows I love him, but I won't be a doormat. I know he's capable of making poor choices, but also of recognizing and correcting them. As for me, I used some of the settlement money to take a trip Margaret and I had always planned. 3 weeks in New Zealand. I scattered some of her ashes at Milford Sound, like she wanted. I donated $50,000 to the Tom Baker Cancer Center in her name. And I met someone. Her name is Linda. She's 64, a retired school teacher, also widowed. We met at a grief support group, of all places. We've been seeing each other for a few months now. It's different from what Margaret and I had. How could it not be? But it's good. Linda knows everything about the lawsuit. She told me, "You taught your son that love includes accountability. That's a gift, even if it came wrapped in tough circumstances." Maybe she's right. I've learned that being a good father doesn't mean saying yes to everything. It doesn't mean accepting disrespect to keep the peace. Margaret used to say, "Boundaries aren't walls. They're bridges to healthier relationships." I didn't fully understand that until I had to enforce one. My advice, if you're facing something similar, document everything. If you lend money to family, do it properly. And if someone you love violates that trust, know that holding them accountable isn't cruelty. Sometimes it's the most loving thing you can do. Because real relationships can't exist without mutual respect, and respect means honoring your commitments. James and I are proof that you can come back from betrayal, but only if both people are willing to do the hard work, only if both people are honest about what went wrong, and only if boundaries are respected going forward. If you enjoyed my story, or if it helped you with a situation you're facing, please hit that like button and subscribe to Shattered Vengeance for more stories about overcoming betrayal and rebuilding stronger. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts or your own experiences. Have you ever had to take legal action against a family member? How did it turn out? Let's talk about it. And remember, setting boundaries doesn't mean you love someone less. Sometimes it means you love them and yourself enough to demand better. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves out there.